Call meeting to order of the Brownsville Independent School District's Board of Trustees, regular board meeting May 2nd, 2006, 5:30 p.m. at the Administration Building. We'll go on to a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please rise?
Yes, I would like for the audience to remember Gonzalo Garcia, better known as Gigi. He was a former teacher, coach, and administrator at Pace High School over 40 years. He passed away last night. He suffered a heart attack, so I want you to keep him in your prayers, please. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
Norma, pencil.
Roll call. Everyone's present, Norma, and accounted for. Number 5, recommend approving the agenda of the regular board meeting of May 2nd, 2006, with any corrections, Dr. Salkowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under closed meeting, grievances, item 10, 11, 12, and 13 will not be addressed in tonight's meeting. Under general function, item A14, pages 046 is to be replaced, and the changes are highlighted. Item A17, pages 050 and 51 will be replaced. Those changes are highlighted. And then under contract and agreement, item D29 will not be addressed in tonight's meeting.
Do you have a rewording for 17?
Yes, it's in front.
I don't have a copy. I just want to make sure I read it. How is it to be? How do you want to read? Read?
The one that we're going to 14 would be that we are rescheduling the regular board meeting to June 13th instead of the 7th, because all of the board is at a meeting.
Okay.
That evening, and we have graduation, as you know, from the 2nd through the 6th. So
17 is correct?
17th, the wording is okay.
Okay. Okay. There's a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
There's a motion, a second, to approve the meeting, or the meeting of the May 2nd, 2006 minutes. All those in favor signify by raising hand, saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Go on to 6, recommend approving the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 18th, 2006, and the minutes of the special call board meeting of April 24th, 2006, with any corrections. Any corrections? Mr. Munoz, we're okay? It's a first. All those in favor, there's a motion to approve. Motion to approve.
I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. There's a second. All those in favor signify by raising hand, saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Move on to 7, Superintendent's Report A, Conference Presentation. 1, recognition of the 2005-2006 Duke University Talent Search students. Dr. Salkowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, audience. The mission of the Duke University Talent Search Program is to identify and support academically talented students. To participate in the Duke University Talent Identification Program, a student must be, first of all, in the 7th grade and must have scored in the 95th percentile or higher on the standardized achievements, aptitude, and ability tests, and are approved by the state criteria, or be willing to take the SAT or the ACT, excuse me. Every year, the Duke Talent Identify recognizes the higher scoring 7th grade students who participate in the program. To qualify for state recognition, the student must score in the top 25% of the pool. This year, 124 7th grade BISD students participate in the program. 11 of these students have qualified in the state recognition program. It's with great pride this evening, that we congratulate these 11 students. I'd like to introduce them. If they wouldn't mind coming up and standing, please. First one, Jonathan Berg is not here tonight. Is Jonathan here? Okay. Dino Chavez. Here, Dino. Dina, by the way, is from Stillman Middle School. Jonathan Berg, who's not here, is from Cummings. Next one is Jose Rivas, Stillman Middle School. Anna's not here. Also, Anna Smith, who's not here, is from Stillman Middle School. Let's give her a hand, please. From Vela Middle School, Elena Mercado. Also from Vela Middle School, Maria F. Trevino. From Perkins Middle School, Casey Gardenas. From Olivera Middle School, Sarah L. Gonzalez. From Stell Middle School, Michael Garcia. From Stell, Priscilla Garcia. And also from Stell, Corando Gonzalez. Before these students shake your hand, this is the first step usually in the national merit process. These students will be receiving letters from universities as early as next year because of their academic success. Hopefully we will see these children in 4 years as national merits. Let's give them all a big hand.
Great job, guys. That's good. That's good. Congratulations, man. That's good. Good work. Congratulations. Nice work. Congratulations. Good job, guy. Keep it up. Good job, guy. Keep it up. Congratulations.
Actually, it promotes tooth decay. Congratulations to our students. Move on to item number 2, recognition of the Destination Imagination Regional and State Competition winners. Dr. Salkowski.
Again, BISD has a lot of winners, and before these introduced, I do want to make an announcement. They just picked the 1,000 best high schools in, I believe, the United States, and 2 of our high schools. There's only 5 in the Valley, but 2 are on the list. Hanna and Rivera High School received those awards, so I was excited. But things are good in Brownsville, and to introduce our winners, I'm going to invite Mr. Merle Hammond, please.
Board President Lehman, Dr. Salkowski, member of the board, and ladies and gentlemen of the audience. Destination Imagination is a creative competition where students are asked to work together as a team using problem-solving, team-building, leadership, and creative skills to find and present a unique solution to a problem that they then present to a team of judges. DI teams are evaluated and ranked based on their abilities to demonstrate each of these skills in 2 different rounds of competition. Only teams placing first in the regional competition are allowed to advance to state. I'm proud to announce that BISD had 4 teams place first in the regional competition. That's more than any other district in our region. and that these teams represent the entire gamut of the competition, as the district had winners from all three levels: elementary, middle, and high school. At this time, I'd like to present the teams that advanced to state competition. Helping me out will be Rosa Gareda, lead teacher from the Department of Advanced Academics, and she's the one who oversees this competition and trains our coaches for the DI competition. First, team to place in region from Garcia Middle School. Their coach tonight is Stephanie Martinez. Team members are Chris Blanchard, Eddie Garcia, Eduardo Benales, Edward Guerrero, Janie Resendez, Juan Mendez, and Vianette Gonzalez. Representing the administrative staff from Garcia is Irene Hernandez. Our second middle school to place first in region and advance to state. They were also the recipient of the Renaissance Award at regional competition. This is a very rare award that is given out. It is only given out when a team is judged as showing outstanding performance and teamwork, and all 7 judges on the panel must agree that the team deserves this award. And so Perkins Middle School was placed first and also received the Renaissance Award at this regional competition. Their team manager is Dora Garcia. Team members, Joanna Hernandez, Ana Mendez, Joanna Martinez, and Julie Urquieta. And their principal is Mr. Victor Caballero. At the elementary level, we have Benavides Elementary. They placed first at region and fourth in the state competition. Their team managers are Demina Nichols and Kathy Munter. Team members, Gabriela Escobio, Robert Gomez, Matthew Gutierrez, Albert Leal, Todd Allen Nichols, Keila Trevino, and Lupita Trevino. And their principal is Ms. Pat Holden. And placing first in regionals at the high school level and also placing fourth in state. This team was also a recipient of the Renaissance Award at the regional competition. So we had 2 of our teams receive the second highest honor of an award that is rarely ever given out at competition, is Hannah High School. Their team manager is Dr. Rebecca Rendon. Team members, Erica Rendon, Robert Barone, Aaron Aguilar, Monica Garza, Natalie Ramirez, and Alex Garza. And the principal of Hannah High School is Yolanda Kruger. Congratulations to all of our DI teams, their coaches, and their principals. Thank you.
Congratulations, ma'am. Congratulations. Hey, good job, guys. That was hard to do. Very difficult. Congratulations. Man, that was fantastic. Congratulations. Congratulations. It was like, congratulations. Congratulations. Beautiful. Fine job. Congratulations, ma'am. Good job. A lot of good work, huh?
Awesome. Good job. Awesome. Good job. Good job, sir.
Congratulations, ma'am. Hey,
You guys are awesome.
congratulations. Oh, yeah, it's good. Went together. Congratulations.
Yeah, they are.
He and I share the bus. No, he was with no problem. He had one. And so he would share the bus with, I think with, yeah, with a couple of transportation. They have to raise the money.
Really?
Huh?
Yeah, that's on the second.
Not there. Not there, you know. I'm sorry. There's no difference.
Okay, later.
There's no money.
Move on to item 3, presentation of the Brownsville Independent School District's financial report for the period ended February 28, 2006. This should have been at the last meeting. Thank you. Dr. Cruz.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lehman, should have been, and our people were off, and apparently they took too many days off. But I do want to remind the board that I put this report in 3 years ago to better inform the board, and we do apologize for not having it in. And Mr. Sanchez has visited with his staff. We're back on course, and as you can see, the reports look good. Our financial situation is excellent. Well,
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir. This is the February report, and of course this is May now. Is there any chance that we don't have to be this far behind? Now, this is February, all of March, all of April. We're in May.
Mr. Sanchez.
Dr. Kowalski, Mr. Lehman, board members. Mr. Munoz, we have been doing some other things that with our BITEC program, but we should be accelerating our reports, and we should be within about a month from the time we present. We should only have a lag about one month.
Great.
We're gonna bring it up to speed.
That'll be great. The other comment that I have is looking at on page 20 and 22, the 63XX and 64XX accounts. You can see that we've through this report we've expended 67% of the time, yet on the overall, we've only expended 33%. On the 199 account, we've only expended 28% and 32%. So obviously, it looks pretty unlikely that we're going to expend these monies on supplies and materials. And I think we've mentioned this over and over and over. If these are supplies and materials that are needed in classroom, we need to utilize this money earlier in the game. But what the question I have is back on April 4th, we did a budget amendment number 100 for the amount of $325,000 for, I believe it was fuel. So
That sounds right.
obviously we know we're going to have some underruns here. Why are we adding money to the budget when we could do a budget adjustment instead of a budget amendment up? It kind of distorts our actual needs.
Well,
Go ahead, Mr. Sanchez.
board members, if I may, the budget amendment we brought to you was at the last board meeting. And that's probably not reflected here yet on this financial report. That's one reason why we don't show it there. And the other question is, you're saying that we are not showing this as a budget amendment on the budget column?
No. What I'm saying is April 4th, we amended the budget to add $325,000 to the budget.
I understand. With this February.
When obviously we're going to underrun these budgets by a large amount.
Let me try. Part of it, Mr. Munoz, is we have field trips and bus expenses that are out there that are, when you put the whole 199 together, everybody's in pretty good shape. But we've got a bus thing that's in the hole, so that money was put in the hole intentionally to help that bus. Now, it's going to be offset somewhat. And you're right, we may still, I hope we have money left. I hope we would not spend all of our money that we have. We've bought all kinds of things. Our school is blessed. I think we spent over $10 million in 162 money this year, which has helped 199. tremendously because 199 is our local taxpayer money. So we're trying to be frugal with that money. But that money was put into transportation because of the rise of gas. Am I right, Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, sir. On another comment, April 28th, which was Friday, was our cutoff for all POs. So you're going to see a big spike here on the next presentation, maybe not for February, but for the April report. And you'll see that number and that percent change dramatically. We're also trying to, what we're doing is we have a cutoff for all purchase requisitions April 28th, and we're telling the campuses and departments that by May 30th, if they don't receive the merchandise, we're going to cancel those POs. And then we have some cutoffs also for federal programs. So that's the procedures that are now set in place. And you'll see those percentages are going to be changing.
Okay. Well, just to belabor the point, it bothers me that we keep adding monies to the budget when we know we don't need that money. We are not going to need that money if fuel falls in 62 or 63, 64 account. We could have done a budget adjustment and not added monies to the overall budget. And by the time we get it, as you know, there's at least a 2-month delay in the information coming to us. We'll be into a new budget period. We'll be working on our budget fairly soon. So we get a distortion that we need $9 million for supplies when maybe we'll only spend 3 or 4 or 5. So we're still adding monies to this when we probably shouldn't be. We should be maybe adjusting some monies like we did in some of these other accounts here. That's my comment.
Just a response, Mr. Munoz. I have a weekly report that I look at because I review all the POs, and we're about at 77% of 199 money, excluding 6100s. I get 62 through 66 because 61 is salaries, it's benefits, the thing that flow in, and sometimes they come up short, sometimes they don't. But we're pretty well on target. I've never been in a district that spends all the money, especially the local taxpayers' money, if it's not needed. We've ordered stuff. Plus, we've supplemented a lot of things this year with our 162. I mean, we spent $10 million, which was not going to be spent. So they got to buy a lot of materials and stuff for their students because it's state comp. And so we've really been helping out with our money. And with the state of Texas being in the flux that it is with the new finance bill, I'm glad that we're in this shape and that we are good stewards. And Mr. Sanchez is correct. We wanted to make sure we didn't have to borrow that $300,000 from maintenance to take it to transportation to pay for that gas. So we gave it to transportation so that they would not be in the hole. We could have took from each school and said, okay, we're going to take some money and give it and shift it. You're correct. But to keep it true, we wanted to know what we actually spend in transportation without affecting the other departments.
Oh, we would know what we spent. There's no problem
But
there.
I don't want to borrow someone else's money. It's all in the same. It's all in the same account.
Okay. All right. But you understand that we don't want
understand.
to have numbers presented to us that are not realistic.
Well, we were in the hole.
Because we have to determine how much to tax the community.
I understand that.
And if we have distorted numbers here, then we have to either say, no, we can't do this, or
I know. And
we need good information.
And I understand it, and the information is that we were in the hole in transportation. We put the money in there, and I think we've been a good steward. We're paying for 2 elementaries out of fund balance, so I think we've been good stewards. That price tag's probably going to be 22 when the dust settles in both those elementaries. So we've been good stewards of money, and we are watching it. But I can tell you that rather than borrowing money from everybody because transportation, we didn't count on the gas going up that much. But we're good stewards.
Additional comments? Thank you. Move on to item 4, presentation of the Brownsville Independent School District's quarterly investment report for the period ended March 31st, 2006. Dr. Solkowski.
We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Comments?
Yes, we have been very good stewards, and as reflected by the amount of monies we have at this point in time. I'm looking at the second to last page of the investment report, the certificates of deposit. We have close to $117 million for this quarter. What I'd like to know is What is the forecast on interest earned? Or not what is the forecast, how much did we earn in the last 3 quarters, including this quarter? And what do you project for the entire year?
Dr. Salkowski?
Mr. Sanchez.
We already know what 3 quarters of it, that's an actual.
I may not answer your question directly, but I knew you were going to ask something like this, so I went back to 2004, and I said, okay, we compare the third quarter for 2004. In the year 2004, third quarter, we had about $622,000. In 05, for the same quarter, we had $1.3 million. And for this quarter, in 2006, we have 2.4. So you can see we went from 600,000, $1.3 million to 2.4 million. Now, you know, I didn't answer your question directly, but I don't have that other information that you're asking.
We could email that to you, Mr. Mayor.
But we can.
Make note of that.
We'll email it.
So you'll get me the actuals
Yes, sir.
for the last 3 quarters,
Right.
and I can do my own projection based upon this last quarter then.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Additional comments, concerns? Thank you. Move on to item 5, presentation of the Brownsville Independent School District's quarterly overtime report for the period ended March 31st, 2006. Dr. Salkowski.
We'll be happy to answer any questions. I did cover the report. Overtime is running. A lot of the schools are different. There's 2 or 3 things in this report. One is that we need to budget some of the overtime for some of the schools that don't have any budgeted. Number 2 is that some schools have more overtime than others. Some of it's Century 21 grants. Rivetta High School sometimes has a lot of the cafeterias rented. Hanna, because of everything that happens at Hanna, being one of our most used schools, and Lopez. So some of them have larger amounts. A lot of it, you're seeing expenditures, you're not seeing revenue. And we feel pretty good about the overtime.
And how long have we been getting this report, Dr. Salkowski? When do we start implementing this report?
I don't know, a year?
Or Mr. Powers?
About last 9 months.
Yeah.
That's 9 months.
Okay, very good. Okay, any comments?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Let me get Mr. Powers over here.
Thank you.
Gotta get the right side.
President Lehman. Doctor, the only question I have in regards to, for example, on page 27, on let's say Stillman, they have 28,000 budgeted, and then a lot of it's going to functionally 11, 22,000. Is there a reason why some of those middle schools and elementaries have that much overtime?
I believe that's a Century 22.
Century one? Okay.
Century 21
sir.
grant.
Same question, but,
Century 21 grants.
Century 21.
who are those 6? I think there are 6 24th century schools.
I think-
Skeeter, Garza,
Okay.
and Jardín, and Stillman.
Those are the
There's
ones.
2 more,
I think there's
And that's why you see all these
Right.
big numbers.
Perkins.
Those are
there's
the ones
a-
got, yeah, Century 21. Then.
And that's why it looks like
Yeah.
one school has all the money and the other one. It's because that school received the grant, and it's for overtime for tutors after school. And that's why it appears on this report.
Is there a limit on Century 21, or other schools can apply, or is it only 6?
I think is it only 6?
I compliment them for receiving that. That's
Well, they help pay for the overtime.
Additional comments?
Yes, I'm glad that we found out about the Century 21. I saw those numbers. That explains it for the most part. What on the high schools we have function X, all others. Some of them appear to be rather high in relationship to their peers. Lopez for one. What is function 10 or all others?
Mr. Sanchez,
It could be any function from starting with
counselors.
counselors, self-development, any administration, whatever they need. It's not really X's. Instead of listing all of those functions, we just put X as others. And
It could be
it's a
library.
combination of a whole series of other functions that a campus, every campus will puts in whatever they feel is related to the campus improvement plan, and that's what they put in those as particular line items and functions.
If we had a grant for, say, some counseling, that would be under X, because that counseling's 31.
And this is overtime?
Overtime.
Wow.
I guess they wouldn't. Maybe they're helpers if they had helpers. And social workers, all those people that aren't under there.
Well, If they don't get overtime, then some of these numbers are rather large. Anyway,
If there's one you want us to look up, we can look them up, but
no, I'm sure that the AAs will probably look at them.
they have.
You got to remember, on certified, they get $35 an hour. It's not really overtime. It's just certified, like
Stipend.
$35 an hour. That's like an extra stipend. There you go. Versus classified, who gets overtime. They can, if you want that
Extra duty
separate, you
pay.
can
That's a
separate
good
that.
So that maybe that's what
That
you're
may,
talking about, the council
I might
get
have a counselor doing a special program, would get an hourly $35.
That explains that. The other item is transportation.
Yes, sir.
The other item is transportation. It appears that, by my calculations, we budgeted $730,000 for overtime. We're already $284,000 over that, and we're into a period where I estimate we'll probably use $400,000. So that would equate to a bust of the budget by $685,000, nearly doubling the existing budget of $750,000. Have we taken a very serious look at scheduling these folks? That's a lot of
We
money
Mr.
for
Gonzalez
overtime.
has worked on it. We'll talk about it later in the report.
Good.
Okay, you want to go ahead now? Go ahead, Hector.
Thank you, Dr. Solkowski, Mr. Lehman, members of the board. Overtime is not due to routes. I want to explain that. This has to do with taking kids to and from school. For example, I want to give you an example. We have after-school runs for tutorials. We have Saturday tutorials. Just in the month of April, 948 field trips. Okay, they've all been approved by the principals and the AAs. We provide transportation for it. We don't have drivers for field trips. So these drivers get through with their runs, and then they come do the field trips. So in just 1 month, can you imagine 148 field trips? That's all overtime, because usually their regular time is taken up through regular routes. Now we have after-school tutorials. You can use numerous buses, 50 to 60 buses a day just for after-school tutorials. We have Saturday tutorials. We have all of that, and that's all overtime. So it's hard to control from the transportation aspect, and I want to make it very clear that this is not due to transportation runs. This is due to extracurricular activities, field trips, baseball games, football games, cheerleaders, you name it. They all go somewhere. Now, we do have what we call chargebacks, which are not shown here. So we charge all those trips back to the different departments, and they come back to the general fund, to Mr. Sanchez here, and he puts it back not in transportation, but in general fund. So you're not really seeing the chargebacks coming back to transportation, rather they go to general fund. And that's where he keeps the money. So even though somebody else is paying for it, it's being shown as transportation over time when it really is for grants for after-school tutorials all that, or field trips that are being paid out of 11 to go for instructional field trips. You don't see that. It's being charged to 34, but it's being charged back and going to general fund as a function 11 or 36. So that's very important for the board to understand. It's not the routes that create the overtime. It's all the other stuff.
So you're saying that if the chargebacks were applied to this, it would reduce it significantly, or?
Significantly.
It would reduce it, but it wouldn't pay. It's not going to go one for one.
We probably have over $2 to $3 million on chargebacks by the end of the year. So that takes care of our overtime and some of our fuel.
It would be interesting to see how it's.
And we can provide that report. We've done it for last year, and we'll do it again this year. And every month we go back and charge back, and I make sure, and I tell the AAs during cabinet, be sure and reserve money at the end of the year. Make sure you have money to pay back transportation on your
Because
Mayfield
I don't
trips.
want to keep bringing this up over and over. I see it either. It either tells me it's bad management, that we don't know how to schedule our monies from year to year, because we know we're going to do field trips. We know we're going to have tutoring
Right.
and so
But-
forth.
but-
So it should either be in the budget or it's not.
And it is in their budgets.
Yeah.
For that particular, and if we charge it back, the only thing, and Dr. Z will, I'm sure will agree, it just doesn't show, because it's showing as a 34 expenditure rather than an 11 or a 36 expenditure.
Well, I understand we're the only school district in the valley that guarantees 40 hours a week. Is that correct?
And
for bus drivers?
we don't guarantee
For
40,
bus
we
drivers?
guarantee 32.
32?
Yes, sir.
32.
I thought it
But
was-
we don't even have that problem because of all the field trips we go way over. We can guarantee nothing, and we
So-
still have it.
We're generous.
Part of
We
the
don't-
34.
We're not paying people 32 hours a week, obviously.
No, they make those just on the runs. It's all the field trips that cost the overtime.
So you will get us that that number. When will it be reconciled? At the end of the year or what?
We probably can reconcile the entire year by about July or mid-August.
Yeah, by the time all the charges come in.
But we have to wait till June to get all, because we have summer school. And the summer school is also paid through somebody else's funds, not ours, not 34.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and does this include overtime for mechanics and supervisors or just bus drivers?
It bus monitors, mechanics, and anybody that's in function 34, which is transportation.
You had a question, I apologize.
No. It's one of the questions that Mr. Powers asked on the 21st century, if what schools can apply, whatever, and I didn't hear an answer from anyone in curriculum or at the board itself, but the additional grant and invitation was sent to all the principals in the school district, and those that choose to participate contacted Mary Lou Esparza. So the original grant was awarded to 6 schools. Falk is the other school, Dr. Zakowski. And so, I mean, it takes a while for me to remember some of these things. I've been out of it for 3 years. So this is how they were awarded that kind of money, according to what the proposal was written by that school and the 21st century. And that grant is guaranteed for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Now, in April the 1st, also the school district, there was an announcement in the newspaper that the BISD had written another proposal, 21st century, that anyone who wanted to come and talk to Mrs. Sparks on Title I to come and look at it. So actually, it's an invitation for all the schools to open, even the community. There are some agencies that perhaps want to be included in this grant. It started as a federal program. Now it goes back to the state because the state changed, the federal government changed its criteria. It's based on low income and also low performance schools in their campus. I thought you might want to hear that, Mr. Powers. Answer to your question.
Thank you. Additional comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Move on to item 6, presentation of the Parental Involvement Conference that was held on April 13th, 2006. Dr. Salkowski.
Dr. Hernandez.
President Lehman, Dr. Zulkowski, members of the board. BISD is very proud of its parental involvement program and very proud of the efforts of that department in building partnerships with their families in our community. So I'd like to invite Ms. Rosalva Arezquita to present on those items and questions that were asked for the board.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Thank you, Mr. Board President, board members, Dr. Salkowski, and BISD administrators. I am Rosalva Arezquita, Parental Involvement Coordinator, and on behalf of the Office of Curriculum and Instruction Special Programs, I'd like to share with you a summary of the 2006 Spring Parent Conference, our Leadership Conference, and the upcoming You Help Us Shine Parents Award Ceremony. Brownsville ISD sponsored the 2006 Spring Parent Conference on April 13, 2006, at the Brownsville Event Center. The theme was a grand safari and expedition of academic excellence. Dr. Salkowski welcomed parents to the conference. He extended his thanks for their attendance and supporting their children and BISD. He also recognized President Mr. Pat Lehman for his attendance. A total of 650 participants attended the conference. Attendees consisted of parents and administrators of the Lopez and Porter clusters. Also in attendance were administrators and parents of private schools who were invited to join us. The keynote speaker, Dr. Matilde Sarmiento, lecturer of the University of Texas at Pan American, addressed to parents of the important role her parents played throughout her education, and through their encouragement and motivation was able to attain numerous accomplishments. She also motivated parents to seek resources to further their own personal growth. The restructuring of our conference allowed for many sessions to occur throughout the day. Participants attended sessions led by curriculum and instruction specialists on topics such as literacy and strategies to reinforce education at home. The BISD Police Department, the University of Houston Health Science Center, and UTB also led different informative sessions. The feedback we have received from this initiative has been overwhelmingly positive. Another successful event occurred last Friday. Approximately 250 students and 200 parents attended BISD's first annual Parent and Student Leadership Conference. The conference marks the first time BISD has partnered with the city, county, and our friends from Mexico to talk about leadership and laws and consequences. Participants attended sessions led by our city police chief, BISD police chief, representatives from the county and city, as well as our superintendent, Dr. Zalkowski. Topics discussed included laws on both sides of our border, characteristics and responsibilities associated with leadership and leading, and the importance of good decision-making. I'd also like to thank Mr. Rolando Aguilar for his attendance at Friday's event. And after each event, we reflect on the conference and discuss ways to make our next partnership even better. Upcoming events for this month of May. On May 4th, we have our District Mother's Day event, which is this coming Thursday, and we welcome each and every one of you. And that would be at 9:30 to 11:30 at the Brownsville Event Center. On Tuesday, May 23rd, 2006, we have marked this date for our BISD Parent Volunteer Recognition. We have reserved Gladys Porter Zoo, but if should Central Auditorium be available, we will use that. The purpose of this event is to recognize parents for their contributions throughout the year and for working to strengthen the parent-school partnership. I'd like to thank school board members, Dr. Zalkowski, and assistant superintendents for their continued support in helping us accomplish our goals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sala.
Yes, Dr. Escobedo?
Just a brief comment. Thank you very much for the very, very extensive explanation. I'm a very firm believer in parental involvement and the role it plays in the student's academic success. I apologize for not attending. I had other responsibilities. Do you give evaluations for the conference attendees? Do you get some sort of feedback?
Yes, we do,
And if
sir.
so,
We
what-
have
what-
those in our office. We have them filed.
Would it be possible to share those with us, maybe on a Friday letter or somehow, or?
We could do a general. I wouldn't want to use people, and we'll do a general.
Yeah, just a general.
We'll do a general, and we'll
summary
send it
of
out.
evaluations.
Probably a week Friday, we'll get it
Sure,
out.
that's fine. That's fine. Thank
We'll
you.
get that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, presentation on the Parental Involvement Awards Night. Dr. Zalkowski?
He just,
So that's,
she just,
takes all of it, right?
she did everything.
Good. 8, discuss, well, I got to read it by law. 8, discuss BISD's transportation ongoing operations and any pending changes to current operating procedures. Dr. Zalkowski.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Solkowski, Mr. Lehman, members of the board. At the request, I think, of a board member, I try to put something together and trying I guess, to imagine what you were trying to get at. And once again, let me just reiterate that our problems are not really in the regular bus routes. That's not something that we can't handle. However, we always work to get better at it, and we've done this not right now, but throughout the year. We started since last year, trying to do what we can to improve our transportation and so on and so forth. Every year we look at how many routes we can eliminate, that we can, for whatever reasons, they were no longer needed because they're no longer considered hazardous. Maybe the city went in and put sidewalks in and so on and so forth. So we tried to eliminate. This year alone, we've been able to eliminate 15 routes by consolidating them to other routes, so we won't have as many buses on the road. We were able to do that. We're also doing what we call zoning. Zoning in the sense that if a field trip is scheduled for 9 o'clock at Russell, we'll send a bus that maybe is already at Pace, because that's the last ones in the morning, to go to Russell rather than to bring it from Rivera or from Lopez all the way to Russell. So we're doing zoning according to the high schools to see which buses would go to the elementaries or middle schools for field trips. Save some gas there and some time. Sometimes some of the bus drivers get upset about that, saying, well, I didn't get this field trip. Well, you'll get the one that's closer to you the next time. So we try to work with them on that. We also look at special ed to see if we can consolidate some of the special ed runs, but we have to be very careful on those because we need to look at the IEPs. So there we can't just consolidate. We have to look at the IEPs of the student. As far as walking distance to get to the bus stop, we have a standard rule of thumb that we use for students, and basically for elementary, not to walk more than 2/10 of a mile to their bus stop. In middle schools, quarter mile, 0.25, and in high school, 3/10 of a mile to walk to their bus stop. But we also have to consider safety. If it's a street that's heavily trafficked, and how many students are at each stop. Not so much in the afternoon as it is in the morning, because students usually gather, and we have too many students, like 15, 20 students at one particular bus stop. They start horseplaying and so on and so forth, which could create a safety issue for kids. So we try to limit them to 10, 12, 8 at one bus stop. I personally looked at buses, and I was, the other day I was telling Mr. Chirino, the other day I was at looking at elementary number 140, and I happened to pass through El Naranjal, the first phase of it, just to see how many of those kids we would need to transport to that new elementary. And I followed a bus. And unlike, they were doing what they were supposed to. We didn't go up and down the streets. We took one street, and at every block we would stop and unload 10 kids or so on and so forth. They were all middle school. They happened to be in middle school run. So I like that because they were, and then just walking to the feeder. So that's what we try to do, but it all depends on safety issues. And a lot of times, parents will call and say, you know, this is safety where the student is waiting for the bus. Maybe it's high traffic, so on and so forth. So we try to look at each one individually. So we've been able to collapse some routes. We've been able to streamline. We've also done like at Vermilion, and I know it was hard at the beginning of the year. Got a few phone calls, but we did what Dr. Sokowski had recommended at one time, was to do like a monorail. And we stopped going to the feeders and just go right main. So we have 3 stops in that and load up a bus right there from Vermilion. Parents didn't like it, but they got used to it, and it's okay. So it's just a matter of doing this is what we're doing. Now, what we're planning to do in the future is, of course, with the Southside Transportation Satellite Station, that's going to eliminate a lot of fuel, simply because they're already over there. They don't have to travel from the north side of town to go to the south side of town. So that's an excellent thing, and I appreciate the board voting for it and moving with it. And it eliminated a lot of overtime, but that's where it is. But most of our costs in fuel is the extracurricular activities. And I'd be glad to share that maybe at a workshop whenever Dr. Z wants it to the board or whatever. I was just sharing it with Mr. Sanchez. I said, God, that many after schools? Yes. That many after school runs, that many tutorial runs, that many athletic after school. You see, you got to remember that we're away all the time. Like I say, in football season, and you'll see a peak during the month of September and October for football. For football, band, cheerleaders, everybody requires a bus because we're always away. See, none of the schools have a home field. We all have to go to Sand Stadium. So if Lopez is playing against Porter, I still got to take the Lopez kids and the Porter kids to Sand Stadium and then wait for them and take them back. And then we also take them home after the game. So those are where we're adding up, and it's fuel, and we can't eliminate those unless the board would take some type of action to eliminate those type of runs, but I don't think so. So those are where our fuel cost is coming. Even though we're trying very hard, next year we hope, I've talked to the AAs with Dr. Z's permission this morning, and we told them, you know, let's look at next year. Instead of having a bus for girls athletics and a bus for boys athletics, let's just have one bus for boys and girls. Or have one bus for band, choir, and cheerleaders all together, rather than have one bus for each one. So those are the things where we're going to be looking for next year and trying to eliminate some overtime and cut down on fuel costs. I hope that's what we're looking for. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them and try to address them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. I did put that on there because I think that a lot of us aren't aware of what services we do provide, and the public is not aware of it. We do really stretch to accommodate our students and to involve them in our extracurricular activities, which we all know is an inducement to stay in school. So these things have manifold benefits to the district and to the individuals. I'm glad to hear that we are looking at ways to save fuel, and you know, sometimes I'm not picking at you when I ask for these things. I just want to be sure that we're putting our thinking caps on, and we're just not going along from year to year to year without looking at things a little bit. And sometimes we need to do this. Dr. Zolkowski, I'd never heard the term before about monorailing. Students, that was a new one for me. If you'd like to explain that to us.
We do it for algebra camp. We pick 4 or 5 popular sites, so we don't go down the street. We pick kids up, and they go in groups, so they're fairly safe, and we drop them. For instance, we may pick up at an elementary school if we have something in another place, or we have a lot of school districts have gone to monorailing, making it a straight shot for two reasons. First of all, you can load 10 kids right quick rather than pick one here, one there, cost of fuel. But also, monorails were built and developed. Disney was one of the first people to get you from point A to point B in as least time as possible, which means you save gas, you save everything, because I'm going to pick you up and we're going to deliver you to that spot. And we're only going to stop 3 or 4 times along the line. We're not going to stop every 10 yards. And we do that for the summer algebra camp. We started that, I guess, my first year because it just saves, it makes good sense. Yes. And so I know we tried it at Vermillion, and it's working at Vermillion in some schools. And it's hard to know we're not picking them up at the house. But if we get a place that's well lit and a nice place, then we just say these are the new pickup routes.
Well, I think as long as, and of course we'll be applying these monorail methodology within the parameters of the distances that they can walk and the safety issues and so on and so forth. I think there's absolutely no doubt that we want to do this. You know, the public has a perception somewhat, and there's some truth to it because I am the public also, and sometimes I follow a bus on Boca Chica Boulevard, and it stops maybe 3 times within a block and a half, and there are no intervening blocks in between. And so consequently, if you get stuck behind a bus, you know, it becomes very frustrating to go first gear to the next house and or 2 houses down. As I mentioned last meeting, I had the misfortune of being behind a bus on Boca Chica that was doing this. And then and this is where we have to put on our thinking caps and we have to be realistic. The bus did a right-hand turn, which is a safe way to turn, not a left-hand turn, did a right-hand turn and discharged a student within 150 feet of a stop and a discharge that he had just made. So there was no reason why this bus couldn't have made one stop after turning to the right, gotten off the main thoroughfare, and discharged several students instead of going, you know, making several stops. And it would have been safer probably for everyone, safer for the public. The public would have saved gas. We would have saved gas. And we do have a problem with fuel, and we also have a problem with health and wellness. Our kids need to walk a little bit. We don't want them to be put in danger, placed in dangerous situations, but we can apply all of the rules that we have to live with. But I'm glad that we're looking at it, and I think that probably we're going to save some fuel if we continue to look at it.
I would think, Mr. Munoz, probably one of the best things we've done is the South Satellite with those 100 buses. Rather than have 300 buses dump on Dana Road, we'll have at least a third of those. I predict probably in 5 to 8 years you'll have a north because of traffic. Rather than have those buses sitting with one driver at every light trying to get to the south side of town to do the route, they're going to start down there, which is going to save money all the way around for the school district, and especially with fuel costs going up. We'll be bringing that bid. It should be in within a month or so. We plan to start it in August if everything hooks up correctly. So we'll see some savings. It'll take a while, but when they just report there, I think we can pick kids up quicker and take them to school than drive across town.
I just have one other question. We know how many miles we drive a day per route and so forth. We have records. I assume that we do that.
Mr. Gonzalez.
And we know what the average mileage per bus is and type of bus and so forth.
We actually have to do that report to the state because we get reimbursed, and we actually tell you how many miles for each per route, everything,
so
and how many.
We have people looking
and we have the density on it.
So
as how many kids are actually ride each bus. Those are required by state in order to get your reimbursement. Now, what's not reimbursed is the tutorials and the athletics and all that, and that's something that we're looking at. And we're going to be able to maybe show the coaches or whatever, like, okay, you only got 3 or 4 kids after practice. Is it really worth doing that? We need to look at it. We need to consolidate and so on and so forth. So we actually do the density routes, and we have to do that. Another thing I want to take before you move on to this one, I just want to show you the cost of fuel to the district. In July, of last year, we're paying an average cost of $1.70 for diesel per gallon. We're at $2.14 now. So it tells you how much the fuel has gone up in less than a year, and it's going to continue to go up. So just wanted to share that with you, that that cost of that fuel is. I could have never predicted it was going to go that high, that fast, but it did.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Additional comments?
Right here, Mr. Lehman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, President Lehman. Dr. I think, Mr. Mills, with the realignment of the district UIL academically and athletics, we're going to save a lot of money because now Lopez don't have to go to Roma and Mission and those areas.
They're all 5A.
And we got 5 schools in Brownsville, so we're going to save tons of money. I think with the satellite and the realignment, I'm thinking about almost 6 figures we're going to save just because of transportation costs.
Well, one of the other things that Mr. Gonzalez mentioned, we talked about it today, is that if we had a 3 or 4 teams practicing, we'll have the bus leave at a certain time so all the coaches know that that bus is going to take those students home at a certain time. They can all get on that bus rather than have 3 or 4 buses lined up when everybody finished their practice. We're going to have more schedules when that bus leaves.
We're going to see a lot of savings on this one.
So we're on it.
I just want to add as a note for the public that the district travels probably more than 5 million miles a year to transport about 25,000 children every day, round trip. So I commend administration. We tend to maybe misplace 1 or 2 children, but I think we do a good job considering that.
We find them.
We haven't lost one yet.
We find them.
Okay. I commend you. Thanks.
We don't sleep till we find them.
We go on to B, standing board agenda items, 9, board calendars. Dr. Solkowski.
We've got 2 full months. If y'all will bear with me, some of this is in your calendar, some of you need notes. Tomorrow night's a big night for employees, retirees. Doors open at 5:15. Remember, it's disco fever tomorrow night, so I know Mr. Powers will have his bell bottoms and maybe his peace sign, but that's tomorrow at 5:15. We have our at the Jacob Brown Center. Remember, to take our children to work is on Thursday. Friday, we have our district Parent Mother's Day event. We also have our big Cinco de Mayo celebration over at Rivera High School with our Fine Arts Department. On the 6th, Saturday, we have the SAT, but we also have the elementary field trip, field and track and field fun meet at Sam's at 8:30 in the morning. Following week, Tuesday is National Teachers Day, so I encourage the people out there to pick up a phone and call a teacher and thank them. The 10th is the National School Nurses Day. Call them and tell them you're not sick and you're coming in. No, we have great nurses in our district. On the 11th is the Top 5% Picnic, which is out at the BISD encampment that we have. Of course, we have the bilingual conference going on also at that time. And the most important day is the 13th. The election day is May 13th. We also have our elementary science fair. On the 15th, we have a facility committee meeting at 5:30 in this building on the 15th. 16th is a regular board meeting. On the 20th, we have a job fair. If you'd like to come to our job fair, it's at the Brown Event Center from like 8:30 to 12. At 2 o'clock that day, we have the grand opening of Central Administration Building over at the old Brownsville High School at 2 o'clock. Of course, all the board, I know, will be attending that. On the 22nd, we have a budget workshop at 5:30. And then on the 25th, we have a special call meeting where we do bids and some payment of some contractors and stuff will be on that one. That's on the 25th. By the way, I will email you these tomorrow if we miss one. High school baccalaureate's the 28th. 29th, we're Memorial Day and we're off. The last day of class is the 31st. We move into June, which it doesn't slow down. The first is a teacher preparation day where they get their grades in. Our graduation start on the 2nd. Porter is on the 2nd. Saturday, Rivera's the 3rd. On Sunday, Hannah's on the 4th. The 5th is Pace. The 6th is Lopez. The board will be going to a conference the 7th, 8th, and 9th. We get back on the 13th. We'll have a regular board meeting, which we're recommending for approval tonight. The 14th, we've moved Brownsville BLA graduation to the 14th at 7. And then we have another budget workshop on the 15th at 5:30. On the 20th, we have a regular board meeting. The 22nd, we have another budget workshop needed. And then on the 27th, we have a special call meeting to adopt our budget because it has to be completed by the end of the month.
Comments?
Early election.
Early election started yesterday.
You haven't voted, Ms. Goldman?
And I voted today, and I want to tell
Me
you
too.
that I think 1,500 people have voted so far the first day is my numbers.
And
Early voting.
is there also voting on Saturday, the 6th?
Is there a birth? Yes.
Good time to vote.
We want to get everyone out to vote, your chance to vote. That's it, Mr. Lemon.
Thank you. Move on to public audience section of our portion of our agenda. The next item on our agenda is the public comment period. This is the time for citizens, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting, so please let us hear from you now if you have comments to present. To have your comments heard tonight, your name and the subject matter of your comments must appear on the sign-in sheet, which is located at the front of the meeting room. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments. With all courtesy, I will strictly enforce that time limit. Counselor, if you'll keep... if a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks that they designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. The board has adopted rules to preclude the abuse of open forum by, for example, anyone uselessly repeating the same comment or complaint meeting after meeting. All participants must understand that if your comment, in my judgment, constitutes a complaint against an employee or an officer, I will interrupt and ask you to stop and direct you to proceed with the BISD's formal grievance procedures, be that of DGBA, FNG, or GF local, or by local policy. With those cautions in mind, we'll be glad to hear the general comments. I'll begin with Catalina Presas Garcia, issues and concerns.
Good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Zakowski, board members, administrators, and public audience. If I can have, Norma, I have a couple of things here. The reason why I'm here, Mr. President and Dr. Zakowski, it's because there was an article yesterday regarding the bond. And I am pro-bond, one, because I know that we have 47,565 students enrolled in BISD. There is a need to build schools. There's growth. Obviously, the numbers are there. However, I'm kind of concerned on the figures that we're getting. It's either just numbers that we're throwing around, which seems to scare a lot of the people out there. Now, I think everybody's trying to do their job, trying to stay focused and say, let's pass this bond, let's pass this bond. However, I went to Harlingen and I picked up a list of the last elementary schools that were built in the valley. And we're talking about Rio Grande, La Jolla, Roma, Laredo, USISD, Monte Alto, La Feria, Hidalgo, La Sara, Mission, Edinburgh. And I want to go over some numbers here with you, and I think that's why some of the people are hesitant to vote pro-bond. You know, and we can't have our kids punished for this because we are here to make the we should not be making mistakes. We're here to make the right decisions and have our thinking caps on. I'm going to go over some numbers, and you have the same sheet as I do. In La Jolla, the same square footage of the elementary school that we just finished building, school number 140. La Jolla paid $6,850,000. San Benito paid $6,640,000. Valley View ISD paid $5,921,000. La Jolla built another elementary, $6,615,000. Hidalgo built another one, $6,925,000. BISD just finished built, or it's not finished with the school yet. But elementary number 140, we're paying $9,320,000. And I visited Salomon Ortiz Elementary School. It's a beautiful campus. There's nothing wrong with it. I believe it was one of our local architects. The school is still standing. And I believe we built that school, elementary number 139, back in September of 2002. That school was built with $6,199,000. There's $3 million there. That's a big difference. Is it because we're not using a local architect and the cost is more expensive because we're having to bring them down? Or is it the material? I don't think there's a difference in material, honestly, because I think we have two schools here. La Jolla built one, I think, 8/4 of 05, $6,850,000, and then La Jolla, back in December of 03, they built one. Well, they built two. La Jolla built one in October of 03. One in October of 03, $5,940,000, and then La Jolla in 8/4/05, $6,850,000. We're still really far apart on the figures here. But, you know, let's just hope that when we make decisions and the bids come in for the coming things that we need, that are needed, I think that with $30 million, I have here two elementary schools, two new elementary schools, $25 million. Or is it the middle schools? $25 million for a middle school. $30 million for two elementary schools. And I think if other districts have paid $6 million, with $30 million, I think we can build 4 elementaries. Okay, so I asked administration and I asked the board that when the bids come in, that we are all on the same page, please.
Thank you, Ms. Pesos.
Thank you.
Move on to second person, Francisco Cifuentes, employees' concerns.
Good evening, President of the Board, board members, superintendent, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Francisco Cifuentes. I represent school district employees. I was here a few meetings ago to ask about summer employment. And believe it or not, the employees do not have a list if they're going to work, not work. They don't have nothing yet. The only thing they're very scared is that they're going to reduce their salary. And I've been told by some of you that probably it's even against the law to reduce their pay. You have done it in the past, like you have done so many things in the past against the employees. This administration and other administrations as well. And they're very concerned, and some of the employees are here today, Mr. Cifuentes, or they're going to reduce it to $7. I told them I don't think they can do that, but they have done it in the past, even if it is against the law. And I think you need to send your administration to the Labor Department, U.S. Labor Department, to find out if they can reduce the salary before they make such statements. That if they want to work, they have the need to work. Like I said before, they come and beg. They're begging you not to give them anything for free. They're asking for work. So there is enough work in the summer, like I stated before, and I'm going to repeat it again and again and again as many times as it takes to make you understand. There is work to be done in the summer. That's a lot of work. In the past few years, I've been told that they cannot even check the oil on the buses. That's a big lie. I'm a safety consultant. I deal with USDOT matters all the time, every day. It's a big lie that they cannot check the oil on the buses. They cannot check the transmissions. They cannot fix the seats that are all messed up, the windows. That's a lot of work. Also in the campuses, there's a lot of painting. There's a lot of work to be done. But you tell them, well, if you need to work, you're going to work under my rules. I'm going to reduce your pay like you have done in the past. Maybe this year you're not going to do it, but there is not any list. They're not being told if they're going to work or not work in the summer. It was about time. I was expecting to see something on your agenda today in this regard. How many employees are going to work, or they going to have a job? You never think about these employees. I don't know why. And there is such, like they have a plague. They have a plague because custodians cannot work in the summer. You will punish their supervisor if he gives them 5 minutes overtime. One employee was almost terminated for working overtime at one time. I had to represent that employee. They wanted to terminate him because he worked 5 minutes overtime. They don't have the plague. They deserve. If they need to work, give them a little overtime like you give everybody else. And I brought it in the past. I brought a list of hundreds of thousands of dollars in overtime. So don't tell me that you're trying to save money. You give some and you don't give the less fortunate. Always like they have the plague. Please, ladies and gentlemen, look and see if they're going to work in the summer. Instruct this administration to do something about it. And we have been asking you for many, many weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cifuentes. Next person is George Iborrego, School Bond, PDAS, and Miscellaneous.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Z, Pat Lehman, board, and administrators. I just got back from Washington, D.C., from Austin. They think they're Washington. I just got back from Austin from a conference for the teachers, and they're not doing any better in Austin. They passed, it looks like they're going to pass the property reduction, which all of us are going to enjoy. The rich that have a lot of property, a little more than me, and looks like the property tax is going to go down to about $1.33. By the way, there is a provision, Lorenzo, for hold harmless, meaning hopefully we're not going to get punished because we weren't at the max. So that's good. But what I was wanting to point out is the climate in Austin is not very good for future funding of our educational system. It is not good at all. And if anybody in this room thinks that there's going to be IFA money, which is that money that matches what we put in a year or two from now, you're dreaming. And it's going to become a nightmare. Early voting has begun. I have already voted, and Dr. Z apparently has already voted. I hope that everybody in this room has voted, and that you've asked your family to vote. The Brownsville Union Coalition, which is the firefighters, the policemen, the postal workers, the teachers, the county sheriffs, deputies, and we're presently looking at Customs and Border Patrol, have been notified. They're being called. You all are welcome to a rally on May the 6th to get out the vote, and also to register for November. We're doing our part, and all of us need to do our little part. Each one of us is worth about 5 votes. And let's support the bond issue, because at 25 cents for every dollar that we spend, it's a good deal. Early voting locations are BISD Administration Building, Christ the King, Brownsville Public Library, the University of Texas, at Mary Rose Cardenas Hall. So please, I urge everybody here and the public out there listening to vote. Other issues, Project Grad is on the agenda, I see. Thank you for not having said no to it, and I'm hoping that we have a unanimous vote to support it, because it is a good project, and we're trying to fix things in Washington so that it can continue. So please support Project Grad, and hopefully unanimously. I hope that the PDAS changes that have been approved by the EIC in reference to evaluations are coming down the pike. I hear they are. Our principals and our assistant principals need to be doing walkthroughs, taking care of discipline, helping the teachers do their job, and the evaluations done, I believe it's either every 3 or every 4 years. This relaxes some of the time that administrators really don't have. And I'll say this to anybody's face. All administrators that I know of earn their money. They really do. Of course, the teachers do too. So does everybody else. I have a concern that I haven't even mentioned to anybody yet because I just sort of found out about it today. Some of our food service workers are having to travel from one campus to another because of some probably badly needed remodeling. And they have been offered to be paid mileage. I have 2 concerns. Number 1, have we updated our mileage to reflect current prices? Item number 2, how many of you who have had a chance to file a mileage report have filed it? These food service workers, well actually I live from check to check also. They live from check to check, and we're having to make them spend money in reference to that travel. I would urge, administration to perhaps consider maybe a travel stipend, because I know they're not going to fill out that stuff, and they're going to be out that mileage, or maybe we can carry them transport them in a van.
Time.
One more statement? No?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item 4, individual 4 is Beto Medrano, school bond, STG, and etc.
With George Borrego, where you at? I agree with you. They always save the best for the last, and I'm the last one today. No, you always want to save the best for the last, and here I am. I first want to congratulate Porter soccer team. I was out of town, Coach Joe. I couldn't make it Sam State. I did see you at the presentation. I was also in Austin, but I don't get to go to the high places that George Borrego goes to. So I don't know about the news over there. All I hear is $2,000 pay raise for teachers across the state and $1,000 for those that their scores go up. So that's not bad for 2,000. Of course, Alba Alegría won 6,000, and I would second that motion too. But I just don't know where we're going to get the money. And I want to thank you, the board, because every time I criticize you, I do it publicly. And this time, I want to not criticize you, but thank you for going to South Texas with good government. All you board members that were there know who you were. There's 5 of them, including Dr. Z, and the majority of the people were very pleased, except, Dagoberto Herrera, you can't count on him on anything. He just doesn't know what he is, American, Hispanic, or Mexican. He just doesn't know. He's got 2 masters, and he still doesn't know whether he's an American or a Mexican, or married to a Mexican lady, or whatever. But he was the only one not convinced. I think that you all guys were great. I particularly want to thank the presenter, Eliseo Munoz, who has a second calling when you leave the board. You can always go to teaching, and we can get you a spot for history, social studies, whatever. You did a super job, and I didn't think you could present like that, but that was because we were together in the National Guard, and that was a long time ago. But it was very good. The majority of the people that were there left very pleased, and thanking the board and the superintendent for being there. I think the superintendent was there for the first time, and we are doing an outstanding job all together. If you don't pay now, you pay later. If you can't figure it out, mathematician people out there that we're going to pay a nickel, and if we don't get this bond election going, we're going to pay 25 cents. So it's pay now or pay later. And if people can't figure it out, I don't know where they went to school at, but I am the president of the association there at South Texas Good Government. I'm supposed to be against taxes, and I'll probably get run out of town because I am voting for the proposition along with my wife. So if there's a stoolie or somebody that points fingers, I will be running out, but not. I hope that nobody tells them over there, and I hope they don't get to see the video. Most Republicans won't get to see the video because they're too stingy to turn on the lights. Anyway, I'm sorry to hear about Gigi, an outstanding young man, young coach. He was served with me at the Optimist Club. He was part of starting the Boisa here along with other good people. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected, that in the 60s he served under Coach Joe with the Eagles, the Mighty Eagles of 65, and the outstanding team of baseball with Charlie Vaughn and all those guys. Coach Gigi Garcia will always be remembered here by everybody in Newham as a hard-working man and a good family man. And I thank you for giving that minute presentation, School Board Member Aguilar. And I want to thank you once again for showing up over there. And together we can do it. And if we get money from this bond election, we can do a lot of good things that we actually need. And this quit fussing against each other and work together on May the 13th and attend George Borrego's thing on May the 6th. And may God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Mr. Medrano. We now move on to the consent agenda. Item 10. I have received a list from my colleagues indicating that there is no need for discussion or deliberation on the following agenda items. Under A, recommend approval of the following general function items: 14, 15, 16. Under B, recommend approval of the following payment: 21. Under C, recommend approval of the following budget amendments: 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. E, recommend approval of the following RFQ qualifications: 30. Under closed meeting, item 11, A, personnel matters, 33. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items? There's a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. 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 Motion carries unanimous. Go on to A, recommend approval of the following general function items for discussion. Item 17, recommend approval to fund Project GRAD Brownsville, $107,000 for operations through August 2006. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Ready?
The replacement.
There's a replacement.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. It's in front of you.
Right here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah, 'cause- okay, let me backtrack again. That's what I was asking you. Okay, number 17. Okay, recommend approval to fund Project GRAD Brownsville, a cash contribution of $50,000 and defer $57,000 owed to the district for the 6-month salary of the executive director.
Move.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
There's a motion to approve as read. Discussion. Mr. Munoz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only reason I put this on here is, or I circled this, was to remind everyone that when this was first presented to us several months ago, we were talking about several hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know if it was close to $500,000, but it certainly was several $100,000. And now what it amounts to is Dr. Zolkowski has persisted in doing his due diligence on this, and as the longer we took looking at it, or the longer the administration took, the more information came to light, and consequently, actually probably all we're looking at is $50,000 cash, since $57,000 was already committed and we would have to come up with anyway. So I applaud Dr. Zolkowski on this matter in doing his due diligence and taking the time to, I won't say massage, but to get this down to certainly a number that we can live with. Thank you, Dr. Zolkowski.
Comments, Doctor?
Just, this is a loan. This 107 is to keep this program going through June and then maybe into July. At that time, I talked to William Rios in Houston today, if they receive money, we'll want our 107 as the day they receive our money. We're extending them. This is for administrative services. We've not touched those scholarships for the students. My concern was administrative overhead, and I do want to thank William and Mr. Rivera from Houston and Bertha for working with me, and Rachel Ayala and everybody that's working on this project, because what we're trying to do is make sure that we have a bare bones, because we don't know if Washington's going to continue this, but I don't want to hurt the students at Porter. So we're asking the board to approve this measure to kind of shore them up and get us into July, and then we're going to have another meeting, and Washington's going to have to help.
Counselor? The CEO now says this is a loan. On the 50,000, Doctor?
Yeah, it's a cash contribution. They've said that they just need it to get through. I would assume that if we're helping them out, they would want to reimburse us, especially if they receive money from Washington.
The way it's written, though, do we need just to...
The way it's written is okay. Mr. Sanchez and I went over
It's understood that they're going to return 50,000 of that. Okay.
That's why we've used certain language.
Okay. Yeah, additional comments? Okay, there's a motion, a motion and a second to approve the recommended approval to fund Project RAD Brownsville, a cash loan contribution of $50,000 and defer $57,000 owed to the district for the 6 months salary of the executive director. All those in favor signify by raising hands, saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Move to item 18, recommend approval of the consultants listed to provide services during the months of May and June of 2006 for the Special Services Extended School Year ESY program, subject to the district's needs and funding. Mr. Colunga, you have discussion?
Yes, I would like to move to table this matter until further information can be received regarding the services offered under the summer program.
Okay, Mr. Munoz has also a question, so let's
yes,
hear it and then we'll move that way.
I had several questions. Who are these folks, and what did we do last year? Were they involved last year?
Ms. Fox, would you go to the microphone, please?
Thank you, Dr. Zolkowski, Mr. Lehman, members of the board. As you know, Mr. Sanchez and his department put in that new consultant bid procedure that we just went through, and these people did serve the district last year, but because that procedure was not in place, those names didn't come specifically to the board. Each of these, the first section there are the people who are working our summer day treatment program for the behavior intervention, and the We Smile Summer Camp Adventure Fitness for the autistic students. Those particular people have individual skills. Dr. Susan Hart is a kinesiology professor at the university. I can't pronounce the next name, but that's a martial arts people. There's Ms. Kretz listed there as a equestrian. Those are different programs and activities we use in the summer, and then the lifeguards that are listed for that last day. The orientation and mobility services, Region 1 has diminished their staff, and we have students, visually impaired students, who need this service. This is a gentleman with this particular rehab service that we're contracting with to cover the needs of the students that we have during the months of May and June. And then the 5 people listed under classroom assistants there, Rose Lorenz and Candy Williams are local retired educators who've helped us throughout the year with our BI program. Dr. Kathy Fadd and Dr. Sue Sheridan. We've asked to come for a couple of days to help us as we transition from an elementary self-contained autistic unit to a middle school, 2 sites of a middle school autistic unit, and then Sue Berlin listed there assists us during the year with assistive technology. These people were not on that original consultant bid list that Mr. Sanchez submitted. Therefore, we needed to come to the board for your approval for them to work these particular dates that are listed there.
May I address Mrs.
Yes.
Fox? Yes, Mrs. Fox. You're right. I couldn't find their names on the consultant list. I did look. How long are these days? Are they? This is a summer session. This is at the encampment, or where will it be held?
No, sir. The programs in the first section there, summer day treatment and the We Smile, are located at the campuses that will be currently having summer school.
I see. And how long is a day there? How long are the children there?
They're there between 4 and 6 hours, depending on, they have breakfast and lunch, and then they go back home. Generally, it's between 4 and 6 hours.
That's for the 19-day period?
Yes, sir, from June 5th to June 29th.
And on the classroom assistants, is that at the same locations? It says May and June, 4 days, 2, 2, and 3.
Those are days in May, or days that we're currently at school. They will be consulting with teachers for the 2 days in May. For the days in June, they would actually be working with students and parents, perhaps in the autistic, for example, as we transition to those 2 new units, we'll be working with students, parents, and staff. All of these consultants, it's my understanding, they were all sent bid packets for this next round of bids, so they won't come again because they will come under the normal consultant bid package that Mr. Sanchez and his group have sent out.
Well, you say, so these, on the classroom assistants, these will be 5-6 hours a day of their services?
Six maximum.
Okay. Looking at from the top to the bottom, it equates to $500 a day for the first one, $700 a day for the second one. The third one is $1,300 a day. The fourth one is $1,050 a day, and the last one is on 3 days, $700 a day. Probably the third and the fourth one are really a little bit high. I would say probably nearly twice the norm that we're used to paying for PhDs or educational doctors, doctorates. Did we utilize these folks last year?
During this current school year, we did use Dr. Sue Sheridan. We did not use Dr. Kathy Fadd. This fee also includes their travel. These people are statewide and in some cases nationally known. They don't live here in the area. The first 2 on the list there are Valley people, and that's why their fees are lower. They're not charging us for, of course, travel, meals, expenses, et cetera. The others come from the Houston, Austin area, and they do include, that is all inclusive. That would be the maximum we would pay for their travel as well as their fees.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. The question I had dealt with the numbers as far as how many are enrolled in the summer program, or the projected enrollment. What would be?
We currently don't have those numbers because the campuses are still in the process of having their ARD meetings and determining which students qualify and or need the services for the summer. We will have that probably within 2 or 3 weeks.
What is the selection criteria for the participants?
For the summer program, the extended year program, is that the student has to demonstrate regression in their academic learning.
What is the goal of the We Smile summer camp program?
Well, many of the students who are autistic, in fact, if not all, have socialization issues in the sense that they're not able. So we spend some time during the summer, and it's my understanding this program's been going on for the last several years, and it's about socialization. Students are taken into the community. In this case, they go to the university and work with Dr. Hart in the fitness section of it, the martial arts, the equestrian. Those kinds of things are to assist the students with their specific disabilities.
What have been the results of the past the consulting and curriculum in achieving the goals? What have been prior results, or is there a report on the results so far?
I'm not familiar with anything that might exist in terms of a written evaluation. I know that individual parents and teachers who have participated in this program can probably give us some anecdotal types of evaluations. I have not located, in my year there, I have not located any specific written evaluation of the program, but that would be something that we could do at the termination of this program this summer.
And on the summer programs, what has been planned for other disabilities besides autism?
At this time, there is no additional program, only these two that have already been set out. And then, as I said, the autistic students we've just finished piloting a 3-year self-contained program for the autistic, and we're moving into middle school. We'll have 2 units opened in the middle school. But in terms of summer programs, other disabilities, there is not one. We are looking towards something perhaps for the swimming pool, not this summer, but the following summer once our pool is completed.
Is there a particular reason for not planning summer programs for other disabilities, or is it because of the long-term plan for the other program, for the goals of that program? Socialization, I believe, is one of the goals.
No, sir. There is no reason that I know of for not doing that.
I didn't have any other questions.
Additional comments, Mr. Powers?
But all our kids can attend all the schools that are open for the summer on recreational, correct?
Yes, sir.
All our children.
All special ed students are eligible to attend the recreational programs as well as the regular summer school programs going on at the individual campuses. The students that we're specifically targeting here are those who qualify for the extended year services.
As long as all the other athletic things they have going on in the summer.
All summer recreational activities are available to all students, as are all the other academic summer school programs at the elementary, middle school, and high school.
Additional comments? I have one. Dr. Solkowski, I don't know if Ms. Fox can answer it. On page 53, classroom assistance, when you have May 2 days and May 3 days, what time in May?
We have not yet determined the dates. Just 2 days in May, we're going to use those persons to assist in the classrooms and/or with the teachers.
The bulk of the time is in June. Mr. Kalunga is requesting that this item probably be tabled. I don't know if there's a conflict with time restraint, but I don't see one. So I don't know if at this point the board wants to accommodate Mr. Kalunga, so he has time to discuss this with the superintendent. At this time, if there are no more other questions, Mr. Kalunga?
Well, I just wanted to clarify the concern that I had would be in addressing the needs for the summer for all disabilities, since that is the intent for summer programs under the its extended year to address the regression, and the goals of the socialization would be also an area that other disabilities would benefit from. So I was concerned that there has been no plans made for other disabilities. Would like to see what could be done that would be a similar consideration involving consultants for other disabilities. based on either a determination of populations or percentages or what needs to be done, because I know that it is based on the needs of a particular disability to have the benefits of the consultants, but I feel that there needs to be the district-wide input on other disabilities that would have would address the needs of special ed children that can benefit from this summer program.
Dr. Salkowski?
We can take a look at that. I know Ms. Fox is open to anything that we need to look at. One of the reasons why we brought you this is because we need to lock these people up for May and June. I don't want any kid not receiving services because we're adding. We can always come back with some additional people if we need to. If the board wants to table this, it's just we need to lock these people in. These people don't just work for us; they work for a bunch of school districts. We want to make sure we lock them up on our days.
Let me ask a follow-up question to satisfy Mr. Kalunga. Is this a working document, a program? Is it subject to change? Can it be changed as it's implemented?
Ms. Fox?
To accommodate certain programs? Or are we locked into a certain fix of programs?
No, we're not locked into anything.
So Mr. Kalunga can therefore be accommodated if, not to say he, but other programs can be looked at if there's a need.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We could also, if we wanted to add a program or extend a day or two, we'd have to bring it back to you and say, we'd like for you to spend a couple of days with this group here.
But you're saying that other programs can be scheduled into this program?
Yes, sir.
Other services or other...
We'd have to bring back an action item if we took one of these consultants and say, look, we wanted you to add a couple, 3 days, we'd have to bring that portion back. Or if we get a whole new different consultant coming back with another thing. But I think what Mr. Kalunga is asking is to make sure that all of our students have some kind of summer program. And that's fine. We can bring that back if we need to and be happy to meet with him, and I'll talk with Ms. Fox.
So we can accommodate.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Kalunga, so you want to continue with this item? Or you want to table it?
That would be, based on the commitment to add programs.
We can look at that.
All righty, then can I get a motion to approve item 18? There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion and second to approve item 18. All those in favor signify by raising your hand saying aye. 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 All those against? You're against?
He had a motion to table.
Okay. And, well, no, he was asking. I don't know if... He didn't make a motion. He didn't make a motion.
There was, Mr. Kalunga, I'm sorry, Mr. Lehman, there was a motion, but there was to table, but no second.
Okay.
And so basically that died, and then you went to the approval motion at this point in time.
I'll work on it.
So what are you trying to tell us now?
The chair did not ask for a second, right?
I did not.
You didn't ask for a second on the.
I did not acknowledge his tabling, so I know he had a concern about tabling.
Right.
So in Robert's rules, I asked for a motion to approve. I got it. I got a second. All those in favor of approving, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye.
Second for it.
Okay. All right. So, and those against? So there's 6, passes 6-1. Okay, there we go. Is that okay? We concur?
That's fine.
Okay. 19, recommend approval to accept the Pace and Porter Chiller line replacement project as substantially complete. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Discussion. Mr. Munoz.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Looking at the punch list, I'd like to know, do we have this was April 12th, do we have an update on this punch list?
Mr. Gonzalez.
Dr. Salkowski, Mr. Lehman, members of the board. I don't know if they've been provided an update. Mr. Tape, has an update been provided, or is it still the same punch list at this particular time?
Mr. Gonzalez, Board President Lehman, members of the school board, Dr. Zolkowski. We haven't had a new list given to us, but we do know that items 2, 7, 8 under general items and item 2 under PACE and item 1 under Porter have not been completed. Everything else has been checked off.
Well, the concern that I have is that I would urge the administration to very seriously inspect the roofs for any sort of damage done during the course of construction. There are a lot of penetrations made. There's going to be a lot of pipe supports that will be sitting on the existing roof, and we need the right kind of pads. And we need to be very careful that this work is done correctly. I just can't reiterate enough that we need to make sure that the contractor finishes up these items that have to do with the roof in a proper manner so we don't suffer damage down the road. That's my concern.
I agree with you 100%. And when it gets ready for final completion, I'll probably look at it myself on top of the roof and inspect it and get the engineer to go with us and look at it, and certainly look at our warranties also on there. But we'll take before we consider this a final project, we'll take another walkthrough, and I'll personally go out there myself.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
I have a follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
On page 55, general items applied to both schools. Do we have ongoing roof repair or roof work at Hannah, or we just finished?
At Hannah?
This is
Hannah's.
Pace I'm sorry. Am I reading
Pace and
this?
Porter.
Pace and Porter.
I really
we
can't
don't
discuss
have,
Hannah with.
I'm sorry. I
like
retract. But do we have existing
Pace.
work?
Pace and
Pace and Porter or not? We
On
don't have-
roofs?
Roofs.
No.
Okay. That was my question. Sorry. Okay. Additional comments? Okay. Recommend to approve item 19. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raising your hand. Aye. Motion carries. Item 20, recommend approval to authorize administration to accept the Central Middle School renovations project as substantially complete. Motion to accept.
Move to
approve.
accept.
Motion and second. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, I didn't see any punch lists. Do we have
No,
any
sir.
punch lists?
No.
No punch lists. Why no punch lists?
They put the arrow on today. We've been walking through. We're working on some lists. I will walk that building because it's kind of like the pool. It's a very special building in the central administration building. So we're going to walk it. I'll be over there tomorrow because we have some things that we're doing and they're doing, and that's one of the reasons why we didn't want to start some of our projects, because we didn't want to be accused of ruining any of their work. But our trophy cases are finished. The seats are in the auditorium. I've got to check on the curtains. I will tell you that we'll probably be using our lights and our sound for the 20th because we're still getting some of that equipment in, but it'll look like it's regular, and then we'll switch it out. But everything else, I think Mr. Gonzalez will tell you, we're getting close.
Well, I would certainly like to see BBK's, our architect's representative,
Oh, yes.
do the punch list, his punch list, because he knows where to look and what to look for.
I'll address it.
Go ahead, Hector.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Today, members of the board. Before we even consider substantial completion, this is to allow administration, because of the time lapse that's going on, and we want to move in as soon as we can. Okay. So probably on Thursday, I'll meet with Oscar and with Mr. Alvarado, which is a representative for PBK, and see if we're ready to do a walkthrough. As soon as we are ready to see a walkthrough, we'll develop the punch list from there together, all of us together. And if we think we're ready for substantial completion, and the reason it's important to get substantial completion is for us to move in furniture into the building. Right. So not until we're satisfied, and I'm sure Dr. Z will walk with us on this one, to agree to substantial completion, then we'll do it. It might be Monday, it might be Tuesday, but as soon as we're ready for substantial completion and a punch list is developed, then we'll be able to move in the furniture without having to come back to the board for that. So we'll be very on that.
One other thing, mentioned the museum that's on the first floor will not open until probably September. We're working on some track lighting and some cabinets and stuff. So all the other rooms, though, will be available at the open house on the 20th.
Okay. One other question, one other concern I have. Who is responsible for balancing and checking the output?
T&B?
That's contractor.
Who is?
The contractor
Scoggins.
is supposed to, is the one that's responsible for getting a
I'm
TMB
sorry.
report.
JDS.
JDS.
Would it not be more in our interest to do this independently of the contractor?
We can, but it's part of their
Contract.
part of their contract.
I realize that, but I would like to have a double check on them. I think we have existing contracts to do that, do we not? And we
Have anybody on bid? We don't have anybody on bid, do we, JP?
Not for
I
not
thought-
for TMB reports.
I thought there was someone that could do check
We
and balance.
can, but we have to bring them to the board for approval.
Because certainly if the contractor's guy doing the balancing, it's going to be just fine.
Well,
for the most
no, it's
part.
not going to be, because they're responsible once they approve it, that if something's wrong, they get
But we
into
wanna
that
make
list
sure that-
of
that-
potential
I do too.
litigation.
We want to make sure that the output for the stated use of that room matches
Definitely.
the design.
Correct. That's without, yeah. That, and we don't get TMB reports, that will never be substantially complete. We need to be TMB reports.
That has to be.
Thank you.
Additional comments, Mr. Aguilar?
Is the elevator working, functioning, or still working?
Elevators.
Elevator has been installed, but you have to get the state to come and approve it, and not until they come and approve it will we be able to use it, even though it's installed and working and the buttons are there. But it's the state that's got to give it the final seal.
We're working on that one.
Additional comments? There's a motion and a second to approve item 20. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raising hand. Aye. Motion carries. Move on to C. Recommend approval of the following budget amendments. 28. Recommend approval of budget amendment number 111 in the amount of $31,775 for Fund 289, federally funded special revenue fund reallocation. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second discussion. Mr. Munoz.
Yes, I have several questions. The first one is, who advised BISD of the changes in fund use? It says, Bastedo, I'm on page 84, Bastedo
Yes,
Middle
sir.
School recently was advised the Gear Up funds allocated could not be used for, but rather could be used for the purchase of supplies and materials. Who was it that gave us this piece of wisdom, and what materials do we plan to purchase before, as we heard tonight, we're closing out purchases? We're going to have to move it real quick, I guess.
Ms. Brownsville.
Mr. President, Dr. Zukolski, members of the board, it was Region 1 that advised us, sir. They are the funding agent, and it was their decision. The instructional materials that will be purchased are mainly Elmos and technology of that nature for the classroom. We have the requisition is ready to go. We're waiting your approval. It will be sent out tomorrow, and you have, Mr. Sanchez has my personal guarantee that we will do everything to make sure materials are on site by the deadline.
Great. One final question is, if indeed we did not spend this, will it carry over from budget year to budget year?
Sir, this is Bastedo Middle School's first year in this Gear Up grant, and so it was money that was originally allocated for Function 31 this year. However, we just got the notice now that they would allow us to use it in Function 11.
Great. And we are going to use all of this?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Additional comments? There's a motion and a second to approve item 28. All those in favor signify by raising hands, saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Move on to closed meeting. Item 11 as pursuant.
31? 31.
I'm sorry, 31. Sorry. F. Recommend approval of the following BISD. Following bids. 31. Recommend approval to award annual bid number 05-175 to Montenegro Paving and Hauling Services, Brownsville, Texas, for construction services for the main administration parking lot hike and bike trail project in the amount not to exceed $257,917.55. Project to be done subject to the district's needs and funding. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion and a second to approve. Item 31. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, I received the backup at 4:30 today that I requested over the weekend. In looking at it, I did have a chance to look at it, and I'm a bit concerned that these costs, this $258,000 is predicated upon an existing service, labor and materials that we have with a certain contractor. But the problem is that only two of these items, item 1, item 2, item 9 on page 103, come under his menu of prices. And I don't question, I think the prices are reasonable. $5 for a 2-inch hot application of asphalt. We accepted that back in August. I don't see any problem with that. 5-inch crushed limestone base for $6.75 a square yard. That's reasonable. And item 4, $8.50 for a square yard of 3-inch hot application. That's we approve that. That's reasonable. But what I find these item, if you'll notice there in the item number, there's item 17s. These are items that were not covered under this aspect of our broad approval back in August. So I'm told that these are items that come under a heading of current or prices for this area in this point in time. I find that those prices, I double-check some of them. I find some of them to be, quite frankly, double what they ought to be. I refer you to item 5, $11.75 for crushed limestone, 8-inch crushed limestone. The contractor does have a price, item 15 in his contract, for 6-inch crushed limestone, compacted limestone. What it amounts to is he's charging $4.75 for 6-inch. That's probably applied in 2-inch lifts. So that amounts to about $1.59 per 2-inch lift times 3. 6 inches would be $4.75. So if you carry that forward, which I think that's reasonable to do, you'd come up to a price of $6.34 for an 8-inch item. And I think we probably could have used that. I think that it'd be hard to argue that he couldn't utilize that price of $6.34 for 8 inches, which would be 4 2-inch applications. But certainly not $11.75. That's nowhere even close to the going rate around here. I checked some projects that the city of Brownsville is doing, they're currently doing right now, and the prices are way, way less than that. That's one. That's just totally unacceptable. $22,000, it ought to be $13,000, $14,000. I just don't see why. We don't begrudge anyone making a reasonable profit on these contracts, but don't try to take us to the cleaners. We just have to get away from that. The 8-inch lime, the item 6, 8-inch treated subgrade. Contractor didn't have a price for that. He wants $9.25. We just did a contract recently with, I'll mention the name, Ortiz. Ortiz Paving did that same item for $4.95 a square yard, nearly half of that price. So, and I could probably quote you G&T, who does it in the same ballpark also, but certainly not $9.25. Looking at that 18-inch, item 10, 18-inch RCP, reinforced concrete pipe, class 3. These folks are asking, he did not have a number. This is an item 17 again. He's quoting $65 a lineal foot. I checked with with local manufacturers. That pipe costs $14.45 a lineal foot for materials. You can get real close in the ballpark if you multiply materials 1 or 2 times material cost for labor. Even if you went twice, you'd come up to $30 a lineal foot. Looking at several other contractors here in Brownsville, G&T being one of them, we're talking something in the $40 to $45 range. You can do 24-inch reinforced RCP, which is probably 50% heavier, for about $50 a square foot, between 40 and 50 a lineal foot, not square foot. So certainly $65 is just not acceptable at all. The 8-inch PVC line, item 14, these folks want $35 a foot. The material costs $5 a lineal foot. We're talking two joints of pipe, two 20-foot joints of pipe. Certainly, it's not worth $1,260 for that pipe, regardless of where it's going. That, again, is taking advantage of us. I think that that's probably enough. I don't have any question about the numbers that he submitted and we approved. They're reasonable. He is going to make a profit on them, but we don't have to go along with paying way too much of the taxpayers' money for items that we could probably get a better price if we just went out and bid the job out. $8,500 for a bond performance, I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but you could probably tell me. But my advice to the rest of the board is that this not be accepted.
Mr. Munoz, you left out the feathers and the tar. But anyway, any additional comments?
Mr. Gonzalez.
You want to address Mr. Gonzalez? Mr.
Gonzalez,
Gonzalez,
would you
you're
make
on.
a couple of comments?
Dr. Sokoski, Mr. Lehman, members of the board. If you look at it, the surface, he's right. Some of those pipe is worth $14.25. However, we don't determine that as part of the bid, and we don't just go out there and it's according to design, depending on what's being designed. And we ask our engineer to always review the prices and look and see if they are reasonable and within tolerance of industry based on his design. We don't know what he's asking for that would include. That also includes labor plus any other materials that might be going in there. For example, we know we're going to have to put in a whole bunch of sand around those pipes that it's not accounted for, but somebody has to buy the sand, somebody's got to load it, somebody's got to truck it in. So all those things are taken into consideration. And I did ask Mr. Tapia, and I did ask Mr. Gonzalez, Edmundo Gonzalez, which is an engineer, to look at this one more time. So look at it before tonight's meeting and make sure that you guys are satisfied with this. And I believe Mr. Gonzalez is here tonight. Mr. Tapia, is that correct? And he's willing to address those issues that would correspond with this. This is part of the bid that was accepted. We brought this the last time to the board to accept this method of delivery, which because it's a small parking lot, but highly specialized because of the truck traffic that's going to go in there. Talking about semis going into that back road. I don't know if you know what exactly this project is. It's the one right here next door to us. Remember, we pay for the traffic light. We did an MOU with the city that we would pay for the traffic light and we would pay for the road plus additional parking for this particular project. So when we did that, we knew we were going to submit all that big truck traffic that goes in to this main building through the food service now through the back, including warehouse. So it's all basically for semi-trailer traffic. So with that in mind, Mr. Gonzalez did the design, and he's willing to explain his design and why he agrees with these numbers or not.
Let me interject. Let me just ask one question. Mr. Munoz, in your numbers, what does that equate for those items that are itemized that are not part of the schedule?
Well, let me just back up and then I'll answer your question. I'm not questioning the design criteria. I never mentioned anything about the design criteria. To answer your question, it looks like some of the items, and we did approve this method. There's no doubt about that, but certainly the only items that we approved that would come under this method are 3, 16, and items actually 1, 2, and 9. But probably the items that I mentioned, that I enumerated, are probably double what they should be, and we're talking somewhere in the range of probably $50,000, $100,000, $50,000, $75,000 overcharge, in my opinion.
How much?
And I appreciate your opinion. However, I'm not a professional estimator on this because that's not my job, but I do have engineers that do these things, and I ask them to review those numbers. And that's the only reason I asked Mr. Gonzalez to be here today, because he's the project engineer. And I hate to just go ahead and turn it down because this is a bid that's already been awarded and has been accepted, even though item 17 says that it is at the price catalog or whatever. So would they do check, and what was the design based on? To say that it costs $14 to buy pipe, yes, it does. I'm not going to deny that because I even checked myself. But what is needed to go around that? What's needed to protect that pipe? What's going on? How much is it going to cost? And that's the project engineer's job, to look at that. And if he says that's a go, it's okay, you know, Mr. Gonzalez, we think that's a fair price, then I go with my project engineer. That's what we're paying for. And that's why I have Mr. Gonzalez here.
Okay,
I don't know if Dr. Z wants the project engineer to address the issue or not, or the chairman of the board.
question, I think the question is not necessarily the design or whether it's good or bad. The line items that are, that is the question. Line items that are omitted in our I guess purchasing procedures that are left to some other standard, which is what catalog or what market value. But the engineer should know that those are above. I would use RS means. I mean, that would be predicated to this area, using a particular product, a particular grade. And I concur with Mr. Munoz that there should be a flag to know that it is over the market value. And that is the question I think that we need to address.
And I don't know if it is or not.
Mr. President, you mentioned RS means. We did check the price of the 18-inch Class 3 RCP, under $15 a linear foot. I did check RS means. I've got their costs here. Their estimated costs are $2.09 a linear foot to lay this stuff. And of course, are you laying it 15 feet deep or are you laying it 18 inches deep? Exactly. And we understand this, but we know the nature of this job. It's a little paving job, and this 18-inch RCP is probably not going to require a gutter and a dam around it while the guys lay the pipe. So he's here, but like I say, when you go from $8, $9 a linear foot to 65, when you go from 28, which the city engineer recommended on their similar project that they're doing right now on the reservoir on the west side of town on Reese Street, the city engineer calculated at $28 a linear foot. So it's hard to get to $65 a foot for this stuff.
Can we hear from?
Yeah, I would like Mr. Gonzalez maybe to explain
Mr. Gonzalez,
cost separation.
Question. You understand the question, so we don't get into too much detail. The line items are not actually on the schedule.
Good evening. I'm Edmundo Gonzalez from Gonzalez Engineering. And this afternoon, Mr. Tapia called me and said, can you come over and take a look at the unit prices? And I brought my folder with about 4 or 5 projects going back about a year and a half to try and get some cost comparisons. And then we also called the contractor and we grilled him for about half an hour trying to find out how he had come out to some of these prices, and we looked at his breakdown. But I would like to point out a couple of things. One, that it is a relatively small project as far as sewer lines, storm sewers. And because almost every little bit of it is underneath pavement, the entire trench, from the bottom of the trench underneath the pipe all the way up to the stabilized subgrade, is going to have to be filled with compacted sand. Reason for that is that with pavement above it, we do not want to have the trench consolidate and then have some problems with the curb and gutter and the pavement later on. So we are exclusively speccing for compacted sand backfill. Also, that particular area where the work is going to be done is in a confined area where he's going to have to be real careful. There's a fence, and he doesn't have a whole lot of elbow room to work, and that complicates his job. Also, because it is a small project, he's still going to have a backhoe. He's still going to have the water truck. He's still going to have the compactor and the truck standing by to the dump truck to haul the sand back and forth. When we did go over the unit prices that I had in my file, the 2 items that did appear to stand out were the storm sewers, and that's why we asked him to explain to us how he had come up with that. PVC pipe has gone up in the recent months. One of the biggest plants in the country is in New Orleans, Louisiana, that's been shut down. And the prices nationwide on PVC has gone up. So basically, I feel relatively comfortable with these numbers and the justification that he did. And the only thing that I can tell you is that I'll make sure personally that he doesn't put any more pipe in there that what he has to. He won't charge any more than he needs to, and that he will. And I will check all the laboratory tests to make sure he complies with all the specs that we had in our specification book.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, President Lehman. All I want to ask is, Dr. Z, based on the contract is provided, I'm not going to get into all those details 1 through 25, but is 257,000 reasonable to be ISD? That's all.
I don't have a short answer. First of all, I don't like spending a whole lot of money on non-instructional items. But you've got to understand that we have an engineer, we have 2 or 3 people, Oscar, we have JP, have Hector. We have people who do this. And yes, it's probably a little on the high side. It's not on the low side. I don't think we're getting anything for free here. But I want to remind you, going down that road of those 18-wheelers that are coming into that have torn up our road right behind us over here, they'll be coming down that way, making a circle and unloading back there. We've never really put the correct road to handle all that weight of those 18-wheelers. This is not a car road. This is totally different because of the weight, and I would suspect that I hope that this thing holds for a long time. Maybe is why they're having to maybe compact it more. I'm not an authority. I'm not an engineer, but in my business as superintendent, you have to trust somebody. And this gentleman looks very reputable. My people have questioned the contractor. Hector has reviewed it, and I have to go with their recommendation.
May I comment? Follow up. Is this being an annual bid? This is the contractor that is on standby annually?
Right.
And how did we arrive at this negotiations?
Mr. Gonzalez.
This is an annual, thank you, Dr. Z, Mr. Lehman, members of the board. The annual bid was put back in August, and it holds for a year. And a lot of the stuff that whatever they think they can hold a price on, they put pretty firm prices on. Otherwise, they go to what are called catalog prices, or what the cost of the day is. The reason we went to this method is because it's a small parking lot, and it's highly specialized. And we've been waiting for a long time for this parking lot plus this drive. Could we have bid it out? Maybe, but we have an annual bid for small stuff, and he does a lot of the small stuff. What makes this more expensive or more different is the fact that we have to put storm sewer underneath that road. And that's where the cost, you go to a regular parking lot, that's not there. So this is a highly specialized area that we have to do. Yes, we could bid it out. There's no guarantees it would come lower. For the size of the parking lot, it might even come out higher. I don't know. But he does have the bid for small projects, and we consider this a small project.
My question would be, since he is the proprietary bidder.
Yes, he is the only bidder.
Okay,
I mean,
so
he's the one that's been awarded.
do we attempt to negotiate this even further? That's the question. Or do you want to go back and negotiate it since these things have come to light? I mean, whether it's
I did that this afternoon, and basically he says that's what it's going to take to do this job. And I understand it's a small job, but he still has to put all his stuff in there, and that compacting of that sand and this type of things that he justified. Like I say, it might be that we could reduce him another 20,000 or whatever, but I don't know whether he moved. He was saying, no, go ahead and bid it out or do whatever. I'm not going to do this, which he certainly has the right to do, but that would just delay it, and it could cost you more. I don't want to say that it will, but it could.
The failure here on our part is that those line items were not part of the schedule. Is that correct?
No, sir, that's not a failure, because a lot of them, this is basically what it is. It's catalog. What he cannot do, in other words, he has to turn it in to Mr. Tapia and to Mr. Gonzalez, which is the project engineer, and he brings you the price of that pipe, and he cannot charge you anything because he put in his bid that it would be 0% markup. So he brings in the bills for that pipe, and that's all we can pay him for. That's it. That's all we can pay him for. He brings in the bills for the sand. That's all we can pay him for. Now, the charge of the trucking, and that's where it fluctuates on the number of hours it takes to put it in there on the per hour basis, which is reasonable, $15 an hour. So those are the things that we pay. We monitor those hours. We just don't let them loose and say, well, whatever. This is why we have two inspectors on site and say, wait a minute, you're charging us for 240 hours or 200 hours for this, and you only put in 80, then we'll certainly question it. This is why we have inspectors. They won't be on there 24 hours a day, but we'll be monitoring the project.
So, Mr. Munoz, you were questioning labor or you were questioning product?
Well, I'm questioning the unit rates. This job is not that small. It's $258,000. We did Putinat and Vermilion, which were probably smaller than this.
They did not have, sir, the drainage And
I
that
understand
type
that.
of system or the heavy traffic was made for very light traffic.
I
But I
understand that.
want to make sure that we understand. We're dealing with labor, or we're dealing with product, with
No, we're,
items.
We're dealing both. They can't be
Okay.
separated.
So I can understand that labor, you made that clear, and you killed it to death.
Mm-hmm.
But the product is not going to be any more expensive or any cheaper. It has to be a certain standard, whether you buy it here or there. It's not going to cost him. So for him to, quote, gouge or charge a higher rate than what the standard rate is, that's what he's questioning.
Yes.
Did that get negotiated? And apparently not.
And I'll say it to you again. If he can afford, and he's not giving it to us, if he can afford to do 6-inch crushed limestone base for what was it, $4.75 a square yard, and that's 3 2-inch lifts. Then when he does one more lift and makes it 8 inches, that next lift is costing him less than the first lift, less than the second lift, less than the third. If he went to 10 inches, the more you go, it's economy of scale. He's doing each lift cheaper than the first lift. So just using the average for the first 3 lifts, he should be able to do this and make a very nice profit at $6.34. And there's no reason why you couldn't negotiate that price. But to accept $11.75, I heard the word gouging.
I'm not going to get into this.
No.
I'm not going to get into the argument.
No, we can argue.
You can either accept or reject this.
Mr. Gonzalez, I'd like Oscar Shiller,
Yes, Dr. Zolkowski, President, Board, Pat Lehman, members of the Board. I think part of the confusion here is that some of the items here on the breakdown list of 25 items, the contractor grouped several items together. Specifically, 10 and 14 appear to be very high, and you're right, $65 is very high. But what we're actually paying for materials is only $14.40 a lineal foot. For item 14, for the pipe, we're paying $3.35. What he did is he provided us with a breakdown, and items 10 through 15, the items you see there, he separated the actual materials. He's charging us exactly what he's buying it at without adding any profit. That's the way this maintenance bid works, annual bid. In addition to that, he added things that you can't see on that sheet. He didn't provide that information. Sand fill, 800 yards. Excavator, 100 hours. Loader, 50 hours. Compactor, 50 hours. Water truck, 50 hours. 3 pipe laborers. When you add it all together, he took an average of the lineal foot times all these intangibles together and split it by lineal foot and came up with those costs. So he could have split it up separate and then itemized all these, but we still come down to the same total. So you're right, Mr. Munoz, in saying those numbers are high, but it's just not materials. It's got all these other factors built into it.
So may I address Mr. Tapia?
Please.
Items 10 through 15, you're saying are his costs, the actual materials costs?
Yes, sir.
Well, again, I'll point out to you, item 10, he's charging us $65 a lineal foot for pipe that we know costs under $15 a lineal foot.
Yes, he's charging us $14.40 for it.
But he's charging us, this says 65 times 390. That's $25,000.
Right. That includes the work of the excavator, the compactor, the water truck, the labor.
Absolutely.
Is included in there.
Absolutely.
So.
But what I'm saying is the price here in the valley for that kind of work goes for anywhere from $28 to $45 a foot. 65, I can't, you can put in 24-inch pipe for less than that. So I just, and go down to item 14, 8-inch PVC pipe. I price that at under $5 a lineal foot. He's charging us $35. So he's charging us 7 times the material cost for labor. Come on, guys.
Okay.
I don't buy the argument.
Can we move? We're gonna.
But it's my opinion, and you
gonna have to move forward. There's a motion, unless there's any other discussion. Dr. C, you want to comment?
No, we'll go.
Okay. There's a. I forgot what item it was.
31.
I'm just trying to add some humor. Yes, sir. Comedy relief with that. Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve item 31. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Okay. All those against? Aye. Motion does not pass. That's 4-3, fails. Okay. 3 or 4? Thank you. 4-3, fails? Okay. Move on to closed meeting. As pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.082, and 551.084. Move into executive session, closed meeting. Board reconvenes after closed meeting. Now we take, under A, personnel matters, we take item 32, presentation of resignation retirements. No motion. Okay. So now we move on to announcements, number 1236. Next scheduled board meeting of the Board of Trustees is on Tuesday, May 16th, 2006, at the Administration Building at 5:30. Any additions, Dr. Solkowski?
No, just, I expect, is everybody coming tomorrow night?
5:30?
Employees, 5:15, the doors open.
And dress accordingly, please.
70s. Mr. Munoz, get the bell bottoms out. Get that peace medallion.
Wife won't let me wear them anymore.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
Hold on,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Lehman.
I'm sorry. What?
Hold on, Mr. Lehman.
What?
What, Mike?
What?
Presentation only, Mike.
It was not.
Not action. Okay. Mr. Aguilar, you have the floor.
Yes, there's an invitation from county addressed to you and the trustees and Dr. Koski concerning opening ceremonies for the building at Brownie Street. They're all invited Saturday at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next to Iowa or somewhere. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
There's a motion to adjourn.
Iowa.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.